For decades, whispers have traveled through the shadows of human history, whispers that suggest we are not alone, and, more disturbingly, that we've never been. Imagine a deal so profound, so otherworldly, that it could redefine humanity's very place in the cosmos. But what if that deal came with a price? What if the technology that powers our modern world, your smartphone, the internet, even stealth aircraft, wasn't the product of human ingenuity alone? What if it was a gift, or a trade? Think about it. In just a few short decades, humanity has gone from rudimentary tools to splitting the atom, landing on the moon, and creating machines that think. Was this leap simply the result of human genius, or did we have help? It all begins with one of the most unsettling claims in modern conspiracy lore, the Greada Treaty. Allegedly signed in 1954 by then-President Eisenhower and extraterrestrial beings known as the Greys. This supposed pact may have exchanged human lives for advanced technology. Yes, you heard that right, human lives for technological progress. But why would a government sworn to protect its citizens make such a trade? And what could extraterrestrials possibly want from us? Is it our DNA? Our biology? Or something far more profound? Something we can't even begin to comprehend? The implications of this alleged treaty are staggering. It could explain the exponential surge in technological innovation we've seen since the mid-20th century. It could also shed light on the eerie parallels between reported alien abductions and government silence. Could the unexplained disappearances, the strange encounters, and the persistent UFO sightings all be connected? Could it all lead back to one fateful decision? The timeline fits too neatly to ignore. Before 1947, the idea of alien contact was the stuff of science fiction. But after the infamous Roswell incident, the world seemed to change. UFO sightings skyrocketed, whispers of secret government projects began to spread, and the Cold War fueled a race not just for dominance on Earth, but perhaps for control over something far beyond it. Consider this. Eisenhower's mysterious disappearance in 1954, officially explained as an emergency dental procedure, has long been shrouded in speculation. Some claim he was whisked away to a secret meeting with alien representatives at Edwards Air Force Base. The alleged result of this meeting? A deal granting extraterrestrials access to abduct humans for research, under the condition that they would not harm their subjects. But could such a deal ever truly be enforced? If this agreement were real, it would mean that the most powerful government in the world willingly sacrificed the safety of its citizens for technological advancement. And yet, this advancement has undeniably shaped the world as we know it. Fiber optics, microprocessors, stealth technology, many believe these breakthroughs trace back to alien origins. But at what cost? Every year, thousands of people report strange encounters, lights in the sky, missing time, and chilling memories of experiments conducted by non-human entities. Despite skeptics dismissing these accounts, their details remain eerily consistent. Descriptions of the Greys, advanced medical equipment, and experiments that seem to probe the very fabric of human existence all align, regardless of geography or culture. Why would so many unrelated individuals share the same story? Could it be the echoes of a truth hidden in plain sight? And here's where it gets even darker. Those who have come forward to expose these alleged truths, whistleblowers, former military personnel, even scientists, often meet untimely and mysterious ends. Their testimonies hint at a world where secrecy is paramount, where even the mere suggestion of disclosure could cost someone their life. This is a story that challenges everything: morality, progress, and humanity's place in the universe. It raises questions no one wants to answer and reveals truths no one wants to face. What if the technological marvels we celebrate today, those that connect us, protect us, and propel us forward, are built on a foundation of compromise and secrecy? And most importantly, if such a treaty exists, who is really in control? To understand the alleged Greada Treaty, we need to step back and immerse ourselves in the world as it was during the 1940s and 1950s, a time of unprecedented fear, ambition, and secrecy. The backdrop of this era wasn't just painted with political tensions. It was electrified by the rapid evolution of technology and a growing fascination with the unknown. The world was in the grip of the Cold War, a period defined by paranoia and the race for supremacy. The United States and the Soviet Union vied for dominance, not only on Earth, but also in the realm beyond it. The space race was as much about ideology as it was about exploration, with both nations eager to prove their technological superiority. But what if, behind this overt competition, there was another race, one to harness knowledge and power far beyond human understanding? At the same time, a new phenomenon began to capture public attention: UFO sightings. In 1947, pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 crescent-shaped objects flying at incredible speeds near Mount Rainier, Washington. This single event sparked a media frenzy, and the term flying saucer entered the popular lexicon. Just months later, the infamous Roswell incident unfolded. Roswell remains one of the most talked about events in UFO history. Allegedly, a spacecraft crashed in the New Mexico desert, and its wreckage, along with alien bodies, was recovered by the military. The official explanation? A weather balloon. But the conflicting reports and suspicious behavior of officials left a trail of doubt that persists to this day. Witnesses described materials that defied explanation: thin, metallic sheets that could not be dented or burned, and beams inscribed with strange symbols. And it didn't stop there. In 1948, the Aztec incident in New Mexico presented another tantalizing story. This time, witnesses claimed a fully intact UFO was recovered, complete with the bodies of its extraterrestrial occupants. Although the event remains officially unacknowledged, it fueled growing speculation about government cover-ups. By the 1950s, UFO sightings had become a global phenomenon, with reports pouring in from every corner of the world. The skies above Washington, D.C. were even invaded in 1952 by what appeared to be a fleet of unidentified craft. Military radar operators and pilots reported visual confirmations, but the official explanation, temperature inversions, did little to quell public curiosity. Amid this climate of fear and fascination, one man would find himself at the center of it all: Dwight Eisenhower. As Supreme Commander of Allied forces during World War II, and later as President of the United States, Eisenhower was a man accustomed to dealing with extraordinary circumstances. But nothing could have prepared him for what some claim happened in February 1954. During a trip to Palm Springs, California, Eisenhower reportedly vanished for an entire evening. The official explanation was that he had a dental emergency and required immediate care. But witnesses at the time, including members of the press, noted the unusual secrecy surrounding his disappearance. Rumors soon began to circulate that he had been whisked away to Edwards Air Force Base for a secret meeting with beings not of this earth. The story goes that this meeting was no casual encounter. It was a negotiation, one in which the stakes were nothing less than the future of humanity. Eisenhower, it said, was presented with a choice: accept a deal with extraterrestrial visitors to gain their advanced technology, or risk a potential confrontation with a civilization far more advanced than our own. While these claims remain unproven, they are supported by a pattern of events that cannot be ignored. UFO sightings continued to rise, accompanied by reports of government officials seizing evidence and silencing witnesses. Public fascination with extraterrestrial life reached a fever pitch, and the gap between what people suspected and what they were told by their leaders only grew wider. Was this era of secrecy born of fear? Fear of a superior alien force? Or was it a calculated strategy to maintain control over a discovery that could upend everything we know about life, power, and the universe itself? The seeds of the Great Treaty, if they were ever planted, were sown in this turbulent soil. A time when nations feared not only each other but also the unknown, when the promise of technological dominance could outweigh even the most profound ethical concerns. If such a deal were struck, it would have been shrouded in the layers of secrecy that define the age. And as we dig deeper into this story, one question looms larger than all others. Was this secrecy meant to protect us, or to control us? By the mid-20th century, the foundation for a secret pact between humanity and extraterrestrial beings was firmly laid, or so the story goes. The stage was set. A government desperate for technological advancement, a society entranced by the idea of UFOs, and a world gripped by Cold War paranoia. It was in this volatile atmosphere that the alleged Greada Treaty was signed in 1954, marking one of the most controversial and chilling moments in the annals of conspiracy theory. The details of this supposed agreement are as unsettling as they are specific. The treaty is said to have been brokered at Edwards Air Force Base, where President Eisenhower allegedly met with representatives of an alien race known as the Greys. These beings are commonly described as small humanoid figures with large almond-shaped eyes, gray skin, and an air of technological and intellectual superiority. But what exactly was agreed upon during this fateful meeting? According to claims, the Greys made an offer that would have been impossible for any leader to ignore. In exchange for access to their advanced technology, they sought permission to conduct limited biological research on Earth. This research, however, would involve humans. The terms were said to include strict limits on the number of abductions and a guarantee that no harm would come to those taken. Additionally, the abductees' memories of the events would be erased, ensuring minimal public disruption. At first glance, the deal might appear mutually beneficial. After all, the promise of technology far beyond anything humans could achieve alone was tantalizing. And with Cold War tensions at their peak, the need for a technological edge over the Soviet Union was paramount. But the morality of such an arrangement raises profound questions. Was the government justified in making such a decision without public knowledge or consent? And could a species so advanced ever be truly trusted to keep its promises? The alleged results of this agreement are said to have been revolutionary. Almost immediately following the treaty's supposed signing, humanity began to experience an unprecedented explosion of technological innovation. Fiber optics, microprocessors, stealth aircraft, and even the foundations of artificial intelligence have all been linked by conspiracy theorists to alien technology provided under the Greada Treaty. Consider the timeline. Before the 1950s, technological progress was relatively steady, marked by incremental improvements over decades. But in the years following the alleged treaty, the pace of innovation became almost exponential. Technologies that had been the stuff of science fiction just a few years earlier were suddenly becoming reality. Was this merely a coincidence, or was something, or someone, accelerating humanity's progress? Among the most intriguing claims are those surrounding military advancements. Stealth technology, used in aircraft like the B-2 Spirit bomber, is said to have been directly derived from alien craft recovered and reverse-engineered by the U.S. government. Similarly, developments in propulsion systems and materials science, such as alloys capable of withstanding extreme temperatures, are often linked to the supposed technological exchange. But the price of this progress, if the treaty is real, has been steep. Thousands of people have reported being abducted by beings resembling the Greys. These accounts often share striking similarities: strange lights, missing time, and vivid memories of medical experiments conducted in sterile, otherworldly environments. For many, these experiences leave behind trauma and unanswered questions. The government, if complicit, has remained steadfastly silent. Whistleblowers and former officials who claim knowledge of these events describe a culture of absolute secrecy, enforced by threats, surveillance, and in some cases, untimely deaths. The alleged terms of the Greada Treaty were designed to keep the truth hidden, not just from the public, but from the very people sworn to uphold democratic values. And yet, the cracks in this facade of secrecy are impossible to ignore. Leaked documents, declassified projects, and testimonies from individuals claiming to have worked on reverse engineering alien technology all point to the possibility that something extraordinary and deeply unsettling is being concealed. If the Greada Treaty is more than just a myth, it represents a turning point in human history. A moment when leaders face the ultimate moral dilemma. Should they trade human lives for progress? Should they gamble with the safety and autonomy of their citizens for the promise of survival in a universe filled with unknown dangers? As we continue to unravel this story, we must ask, did those in power make the right choice? Or was this deal with the unknown a step too far? And perhaps most haunting of all, if such a treaty exists, could it still be in effect today? If the Greta Treaty is real, then the government's silence isn't the only thread keeping this narrative alive. Over the decades, a host of individuals, whistleblowers, former military personnel, scientists, and even abductees, have stepped forward with claims that align disturbingly well with the story. Their testimonies paint a picture of secrecy, deception, and a shadowy agreement that defies the bounds of ordinary belief. One of the most prominent figures in this saga is Phil Schneider, a geologist and engineer who worked on secret underground military bases. Before his mysterious death in 1996, Schneider gave several public lectures in which he claimed first-hand knowledge of alien collaboration with the US government. According to Schneider, deep underground bases, such as the infamous Dulce base in New Mexico, were joint operations between humans and extraterrestrials, designed for the development of advanced technologies. Schneider's most dramatic story involves an alleged encounter with aliens during the construction of an underground base. He described a firefight in which military personnel clashed with extraterrestrial beings, resulting in the deaths of several soldiers and injuries to himself. His death, officially ruled a suicide by strangulation with a catheter tube, has been the subject of intense speculation. Supporters of Schneider's claims argue that his death was no accident but a silencing operation. Another key figure is Bob Lazar, perhaps the most infamous whistleblower tied to Area 51. In 1989, Lazar publicly claimed to have worked at a facility near Area 51, where he reverse-engineered alien technology. Among his most controversial statements was the assertion that the propulsion systems of these crafts relied on element 115, a substance unknown to science at the time. Decades later, scientists would successfully synthesize a version of element 115, lending a sliver of credibility to Lazar's story. Lazar's claims about anti-gravity propulsion systems and energy sources beyond human comprehension continue to fuel speculation. But Lazar and Schneider are far from alone. Numerous military personnel have also come forward with accounts of unexplained phenomena and covert operations. Colonel Philip Corso, a former Army officer, claimed in his book, The Day After Roswell, that he handled alien artifacts recovered from the Roswell crash. According to Corso, these artifacts were secretly studied and incorporated into groundbreaking technologies, from night vision goggles to integrated circuits. Even earlier figures, like Major Jesse Marcel, who was among the first military officers on the scene of the Roswell crash, have spoken out about the inconsistencies in the official narrative. Marcel described materials that were not of this earth, including a metal that could be crumpled like paper but would instantly return to its original shape. The military's explanation, that the wreckage was from a weather balloon, has been widely criticized as a poorly executed cover-up. Beyond whistleblowers, there are the countless eyewitness accounts of ordinary individuals who claim to have experienced alien abductions. Many of these abductees describe strikingly similar encounters with beings that match descriptions of the Greys. Under hypnosis, they recall chilling details of medical procedures, biological sampling, and telepathic communication. The consistency of these accounts across decades and continents raises questions. Are these shared stories a product of cultural influence, or do they reflect a deeper hidden truth? What ties all of these testimonies together is the overwhelming risk taken by those who speak out. Whistleblowers like Schneider and Lazar have faced public ridicule, threats, and in some cases, mysterious deaths. Military personnel have risked their careers and reputations to share their experiences. Abductees have endured skepticism and disbelief from both the public and the scientific community. Yet the similarities in their stories are difficult to dismiss. Could these individuals, spanning different backgrounds, eras, and locations, all be part of a grand fabrication? Or are they pieces of a larger puzzle, a puzzle carefully guarded by layers of secrecy and disinformation. If these testimonies hold even a kernel of truth, they suggest a conspiracy so vast, so meticulously concealed, that its implications are almost too overwhelming to consider. But the question remains, why would so many risk so much to tell a story that no one wants to hear? Could it be because they believe the truth is too important to keep hidden? And if so, what does that say about the world we think we know? For decades, the whispers of a secret agreement with extraterrestrials have been supported not just by testimonies, but by tantalizing fragments of evidence. While skeptics argue that this so-called proof is circumstantial or fabricated, the patterns that emerge when these pieces are put together are hard to ignore. Could the alleged Great Treaty truly be the key to understanding decades of technological leaps, government secrecy, and unexplained phenomena? Let's begin with declassified UFO documents, which offer a glimpse into how seriously the US government has taken the UFO phenomenon. Project Blue Book, a US Air Force investigation into unidentified flying objects conducted from 1952 to 1969, logged over 12,000 sightings. While most were explained away as weather phenomena or human error, a significant portion, about 700 cases, remained unresolved. These cases involved objects with capabilities that defied known physics, hovering silently, sudden accelerations, and changes in direction that no man-made craft could replicate. Then there's the MJ-12 documents, a series of alleged leaked memos from the 1980s. These documents describe a secret group called Majestic 12, reportedly established by President Harry Truman to handle alien encounters and technology. While their authenticity remains hotly debated, their content aligns eerily with the timeline of the alleged Great Treaty. They describe efforts to manage recovered alien craft, suppress public knowledge of extraterrestrial activity, and study alien life forms. Whether real or an elaborate hoax, these documents have fueled speculation about the extent of government involvement in extraterrestrial affairs. One of the most compelling arguments for the treaty lies in the timeline of technological innovation. In the years immediately following the supposed signing of the Great Treaty, humanity experienced an almost inexplicable surge in technological advancements. Consider this: the invention of the transistor in 1947, the foundation of modern computing, came just months after the Roswell incident. Over the next 2 decades, innovations like fiber optics, integrated circuits, and lasers emerged at a pace that far outstripped previous trends in human history. Even military advancements seem to fit this narrative. Stealth technology, a cornerstone of modern military strategy, relies on materials and designs that some researchers claim were inspired by alien craft. The infamous B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, with its otherworldly shape and radar-deflecting properties, has often been cited as a product of reverse-engineered alien technology. Critics argue that these leaps are the natural result of human ingenuity and wartime necessity. But what if the truth is more complex? What if these breakthroughs were catalyzed by access to extraterrestrial technology obtained under the terms of a secret treaty? Further complicating the picture are recent disclosures by governments worldwide. In 2020, the Pentagon officially released videos captured by Navy pilots showing unidentified aerial phenomena, unidentified aerial phenomenons. These objects displayed capabilities far beyond known human technology, such as hypersonic speeds, abrupt directional changes, and the ability to operate in both the atmosphere and underwater. The US government acknowledged the legitimacy of these sightings, fueling speculation about what else might be hidden in classified files. Other countries have also opened their UFO archives. France, for example, declassified thousands of pages of UFO-related documents in 2007. Many of these reports describe encounters that defy conventional explanation, including objects that appear to demonstrate intelligent control. And then there's the testimony of high-ranking officials, such as Haim Eshed, the former head of Israel's space program. In a 2020 interview, Eshed claimed that extraterrestrial beings have been in contact with Earth for years, and that an intergalactic galactic federation exists. He further suggested that world governments, including the United States, are aware of this but have kept it secret to avoid mass panic. But perhaps the most chilling pieces of evidence come from the abduction phenomenon itself. While skeptics often dismiss these accounts as hallucinations or psychological disturbances, the consistency of abduction narratives across decades and cultures is hard to ignore. Victims describe strikingly similar beings, usually grays, and recall vivid details of their experiences under hypnosis. If these events are real, they align disturbingly well with the alleged terms of the Great Treaty, which allowed for limited human experimentation in exchange for technological knowledge. So where does all of this leave us? On one hand, we have an overwhelming body of anecdotes, leaked documents, and unexplained technological leaps. On the other, we lack the smoking gun, irrefutable proof that connects all these threads into a cohesive, undeniable truth. But perhaps that's the point. If the Great Treaty does exist, it would have been designed to remain hidden. The fragments we have, a UFO here, a whistleblower there, a sudden surge in innovation, are tantalizing clues. Clues that point to the possibility of a reality far stranger than anything we can imagine. Could it be that the evidence is all around us, hiding in plain sight, waiting for those willing to connect the dots? Or are we chasing shadows, trying to explain the unexplainable with a story that feels too extraordinary to dismiss? The truth, as always, lies just out of reach. If the whispers of the Great Treaty are true, its impact extends far beyond technological advancements and secret government dealings. It touches the lives of ordinary people, people who claim to have been taken, studied, and returned, often with no memory of what transpired until much later. These alleged alien abductions represent the most disturbing aspect of the treaty, suggesting that the cost of humanity's technological progress might be measured in human lives and suffering. The phenomenon of alien abduction began to gain public attention in the 1960s, although many claim it stretches back much further. One of the most famous cases is that of Betty and Barney Hill, a couple from New Hampshire who, in 1961, reported a close encounter with a UFO. Under hypnosis, they recalled being taken aboard a craft, examined by beings with large, slanted eyes, and subjected to medical procedures. Betty even described being shown a star map, which she later identified as Zeta Reticuli, a star system often associated with the Greys. The details of the Hill case are strikingly consistent with thousands of abduction reports that followed. Victims describe eerily similar beings, small, gray-skinned entities with large heads, thin limbs, and black, almond-shaped eyes. They recall cold, sterile environments and medical procedures that seem to focus on reproductive and genetic experimentation. The use of telepathic communication is another common thread, with abductees often reporting feelings of calm or paralysis, despite the invasive nature of their experiences. One of the most dramatic accounts comes from Travis Walton, whose story was the basis for the movie Fire in the Sky. In 1975, Walton disappeared for 5 days after encountering a UFO while working with a logging crew in Arizona. When he reappeared, he described being taken aboard a craft where he interacted with strange beings. Walton's account, though controversial, has been supported by multiple witnesses who saw the UFO and passed polygraph tests about the incident. The consistency of these accounts across cultures and decades raises unsettling questions. How is it that people from vastly different backgrounds, with no knowledge of one another, describe such similar experiences? Skeptics argue that cultural influences, movies, books, and media might shape these narratives. Yet, many abduction stories predate the popularization of aliens in science fiction. Beyond individual testimonies, there are patterns that suggest something larger at play. Abductions often occur in clusters, with multiple witnesses reporting UFO sightings in the area around the same time. Many abductees exhibit physical symptoms upon their return, unusual scars, burns, or marks that defy explanation. Some have even undergone medical examinations that revealed foreign objects embedded in their bodies, objects that appear to be small, metallic implants. While no conclusive proof exists that these implants are of extraterrestrial origin, their presence is difficult to dismiss. Statistics add another layer of intrigue. Studies estimate that millions of people worldwide claim to have experienced abduction-like phenomena. In the United States alone, surveys suggest that a significant percentage of the population believes they've encountered aliens or been subjected to experiments. The sheer volume of reports, combined with their consistency, makes it hard to categorize all of them as delusions or hoaxes. But why would extraterrestrials, if real, be so interested in humans? Theories abound. Some suggest the Greys are conducting genetic experiments to preserve their own species, which may be dying out. Others speculate that they are studying human emotions, biology, or consciousness to better understand life in our corner of the universe. The alleged terms of the Greta Treaty provide a chilling possible motive. The abductions are part of the biological research agreed upon by the US government in exchange for technology. The moral implications of this are staggering. If the government knowingly allowed its citizens to be taken, even under the guise of ensuring their safety, it raises profound ethical questions. Could such a decision ever be justified? And if so, what does it say about the balance between progress and human rights? For those who believe they've been abducted, the emotional and psychological toll is immense. Many report feelings of isolation, anxiety, and trauma, compounded by a lack of validation from the broader world. Their stories are often met with skepticism or ridicule, leaving them trapped in a liminal space between belief and disbelief. What if they're telling the truth? If even a fraction of these accounts are genuine, the implications are almost too vast to comprehend. It would mean that human autonomy has been compromised, that we are not the sole masters of our destiny. And if the Greta Treaty is real, it suggests that this arrangement has been sanctioned at the highest levels of power. As we piece together the stories of abductions, a darker question emerges. What else might these extraterrestrial visitors be doing that we don't yet know about? If the abductions we've heard of represent only the visible tip of the iceberg, what could lie beneath the surface? And most hauntingly, could these experiments, and the treaty that allegedly allows them, still be happening today? For every compelling story or piece of evidence suggesting the existence of the Greta Treaty, there are equally determined skeptics. They argue that these tales are the products of misinterpretation, cultural influence, or outright fabrication. To truly understand the scope of this conspiracy, we must examine the counter-arguments and consider the possibility that the treaty is nothing more than an elaborate myth. One of the primary criticisms revolves around the lack of concrete evidence. Despite decades of rumors, not a single piece of irrefutable proof, no alien craft, no extraterrestrial body, no official documents, has ever been publicly presented. Skeptics argue that if a treaty of this magnitude were real, it would be nearly impossible to keep entirely secret for this long. Governments are notoriously prone to leaks, and such a monumental secret would require the cooperation of thousands over generations. The scientific community also raises important questions. Many of the phenomena described in abduction accounts, lost time, vivid recollections under hypnosis, and shared imagery, can be explained through psychology. Memory reconstruction is a well-documented phenomenon, and under hypnosis, individuals are highly suggestible. This means that details of alien encounters could be influenced by cultural references, personal fears, or even the expectations of the hypnotist. Additionally, the lack of physical evidence from abductees, beyond scars or implants that could have mundane explanations, remains a significant hurdle for believers. For instance, while some implants have been surgically removed, they have not been definitively linked to extraterrestrial origins. Most are composed of materials readily found on Earth, such as metals or glass. Skeptics also challenge the timeline of technological advancements attributed to alien intervention. Historians and scientists argue that the rapid pace of innovation in the 20th century can be attributed to the convergence of industrialization, wartime urgency, and increased global collaboration. For example, the invention of the transistor in 1947, often cited as evidence of alien influence, was the result of years of research into semiconductors by human scientists. Then there are the individuals at the heart of these claims, such as Bob Lazar and Phil Schneider. Skeptics point out that Lazar's academic credentials cannot be verified. Records of his alleged degrees from prestigious universities like MIT and Caltech are non-existent. This raises questions about the credibility of his claims. Similarly, while Schneider's lectures captivated many, his most dramatic stories, such as the alien firefight, lack corroboration from other witnesses or documentation. Even Eisenhower's alleged involvement in the Greta Treaty has been questioned. Skeptics argue that his mysterious disappearance in 1954 was not a secret meeting with aliens, but a routine dental appointment. The story of his meeting at Edwards Air Force Base is based on hearsay and lacks tangible evidence to support it. Another important counterpoint is the cultural context of alien abduction stories. Many argue that the narratives of abductions and the appearance of the Greys gained popularity only after the rise of UFO sightings in the media. The publication of books, movies, and TV shows featuring aliens may have shaped people's expectations and memories, creating a feedback loop where cultural depictions influenced personal accounts, and vice versa. But proponents of the Greta Treaty have their own counter-arguments. They contend that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. In a world where governments have proven their ability to cover up sensitive information, they argue that the lack of proof could be by design. Classified projects, redacted documents, and threats to whistleblowers all suggest a systematic effort to keep the truth hidden. Furthermore, while the details of abduction accounts can sometimes be dismissed as cultural phenomena, their consistency across time and geography remains difficult to explain. Even if influenced by media, why do so many individuals, many of whom have no interest in fame or fortune, report nearly identical experiences? Lastly, the pace of technological progress, while remarkable, does raise legitimate questions. While skeptics attribute it to human ingenuity, believers argue that certain leaps, such as stealth technology or fiber optics, are so advanced for their time that they could plausibly have been influenced by external factors. The debate over the Greta Treaty is emblematic of the tension between belief and skepticism, between the search for extraordinary truths and the demand for extraordinary evidence. As we sift through the claims and counterclaims, one thing becomes clear. The truth, whatever it may be, is elusive. For some, the lack of definitive proof is reason enough to dismiss the treaty as fiction. For others, it's a sign that the most powerful secrets are the ones that are hidden in plain sight. And so the question remains, is the Greta Treaty a grand illusion born of fear and imagination, or is it humanity's most carefully guarded secret? The answer, if it exists, lies buried beneath layers of mystery, skepticism, and the endless human desire to understand the unknown. As we come to the end of this journey through the alleged Greta Treaty, one truth stands above all others: the sheer weight of the questions it raises. Whether the treaty is a well-crafted myth or an inconvenient reality, its implications are profound, challenging our understanding of morality, progress, and humanity's place in the cosmos. Think about the story we've unraveled. A secret meeting between a U.S. president and extraterrestrial beings. The possibility of a deal struck in the shadows, a trade of human lives for advanced technology. The explosive rise in innovations that have shaped our world. And the unsettling accounts of thousands who claim to have been abducted, studied, and silenced. If such a treaty exists, it forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. What would compel humanity's leaders to make such a deal? Could the promise of survival or technological dominance justify compromising the safety and autonomy of countless individuals? And if this arrangement is still in effect today, who is benefiting and at what cost? On the other hand, if the treaty is pure fiction, it still reveals something profound about us. The persistence of this story, the consistency of abduction accounts, and the fascination with unexplained technological leaps all speak to a deep collective yearning. A yearning to understand the unknown. A hope that we are not alone. And perhaps, a fear of what that might truly mean. The Great Treaty is not just a story about aliens and governments, it's a mirror reflecting humanity's greatest strengths and weaknesses. Our relentless pursuit of progress, our capacity for secrecy and compromise, our need to believe in something larger than ourselves. But the story doesn't end here. Whether you leave this exploration more skeptical or more convinced, one thing is certain. The questions raised by the Great Treaty echo far beyond this single narrative. They touch on the mysteries of UFOs, the ethics of technological advancement, and the possibility of life beyond Earth. So what if? What if the treaty is real? What if our greatest achievements and our darkest secrets are intertwined with a pact made in the shadows of history? And if it isn't real, why do so many believe it could be? What does this say about us, our fears, and our hopes? These are not questions with easy answers, but they are questions worth asking. Because in the search for truth, whether it lies in the stars or within ourselves, we find the stories that define who we are. The Great Treaty may be a mystery that never fully reveals itself, but the journey to uncover it is one that will forever push the boundaries of our imagination, our curiosity, and our courage to question the unknown.